Well, a very good morning and thank you for all your great gardening questions. I featured a number of plants with Pat this morning, including particularly for summer colour with bloom just around the corner, which is it's going to kick off Thursday the 30th of May right through till the Monday, June 3rd. And bloom is going to be full of lots of colour, particularly these type of plants. And this is a lovely one called Nemesia amelia. So it's a beautiful pink shade of Nemesia, quite short stemmed, but lots of colour. And this plant, it's hard to believe, will stay in flower from May right through until October and possibly into November. Plant it into a patio pot or a container or out in the garden soil, and it will continue to flower the whole summer long, particularly if you do a small bit of deadheading and give it an occasional feed. So that's one called Nemesia amelia, beautiful variety. And Nemesias are very much in vogue at the moment. I mentioned a lovely white variety called Wisley Vanilla, which again, if you want high scent, is absolutely lovely. This is the dwarf dahlia that I mentioned, a lovely red variety called Riviera Red. And it comes in other shades as well, in yellows and pinks, but it's quite dwarf, ideal for pots and containers, very, very sturdy, good in windy areas. And remember that dahlias will continue to flower from now right through till October, maybe into November. So that's a lovely one called Riviera Red. Lavenders, this is actually a new variety of lavender. It's quite a dwarf variety, very compact, beautiful purple flowers. Again, this is one called Purple Flag, and it's one I really like. It's lovely in pots and containers as well. And again, will flower until early autumn. This is the blue salvia. Somebody was looking for cottage garden plants, and I mentioned a whole range of plants that you can plant now. But this, for me, is one of my favourites. It's a blue flowering salvia. Again, stays in bloom until October, probably into November. And this is one called Amistad, which is really, really nice. And there's lots of other great plants at the moment. This is the Trixie Mix, which is a mixture of three different plants. So you've got Lobelia verbena and that lovely yellow bidens. And again, it's just starting to flower now for your pots and containers. So this is a really good time of year to get some colour into your garden. Plant them now. They'll stay in bloom right through the summer. And remember, bloom kicks off Thursday, May 30th. I'll be there giving talks right through the 5 days. We've got your questions.
Okay, so this one comes in from Judith. So do you have any tips for growing a Hoya Chameleon Flame? Does it like sun or shade, watering, etc.?
Well, it likes to be kept in a bright sunny area, so keep it in a south-facing or west-facing pot or container. Water it about every 2 weeks and liquid feed with Osmo Universal feed every 2 weeks. Deadhead the flowers during the summer and it'll continue to bloom right through until October, November. So it's a really, really easy plant. So plenty of sunshine, regular watering and feeding every 2 to 3 weeks with the Osmo Universal. That'll keep it blooming and take off those old deadheads. When the flower fades, just remove the old flower and it'll reflower again.
Okay, so this comes in from Deirdre. So I have a south-southwest facing garden. The garden gets great sunshine, so could I plant a climbing rose on the side of the garden that faces the northwest?
Yes, you could. And now northwest facing, it's going to be mainly getting evening sun. So some of the roses that do well in west facing gardens are things like Albertine, which I mentioned with Pat. It's a very, very vigorous rose. Purple flowers, purple foliage, grows probably 6 to 7 feet of growth per year. A really easy variety to grow. Swan Lake is a beautiful white variety. Climbing Arthur Bell is a scented yellow variety, which is particularly nice. Or climbing Iceberg will all grow well on a west-facing wall. And now is a really good time to plant them in your garden. The other rose I mentioned to Pat was one called Zavrina Druhan, which is a thornless rose. So if you don't want the little thorns along the stems, that's particularly nice. It's a purpley blue colour and it's scented. So it's a really nice one, Zavrina Druhan, really nice rose to plant. And remember, with roses, you can also intermingle them with things like clematis. So again, on that west-facing wall, you could add in with the roses varieties of clematis like the President, Dr. Rupel, and maybe Nellie Moser. That does quite well, and a great time to plant them.
Okay, so Joanne asks, how do you combat too much lime in the soil?
Hi, Joanne. Well, the first thing to do is to take a pH test or a lime test in the in your soil. So try to establish what level the pH is at. Neutral is anything 7, 6.5 to 7 is neutral, and most plants will actually grow in that. Anything below that is acidic. So plants like rhododendrons, azaleas, camellias, they all love a lower lime pH level, so kind of 0.5 or 5 on the Richter scale. Anything above 7 is going to be high lime. So you're looking at plants that will, and again, many plants will grow in limey soils, like lilacs absolutely love it, spireas do well, ceanothus does well. Many garden shrubs do really well in high lime levels. So it depends on the level of lime in the soil. If you want to bring it down, you can put on some sulphur chips, which you'll get in your local garden centre. That brings the pH level down. Or you can add some ericaceous compost or some peat through your soil. It's like adding water to a drink. It dilutes the pH level and brings the lime level. But the first thing I would do is establish exactly at what level your pH or lime level is in the soil. Remember, 6.5 to 7 is neutral. Anything above that is high lime. Anything below that is suitable for all lime-hating plants like the rhododendrons, azaleas, and so on.
Okay, so Rita asks, I have a small grey brick wall. What would you suggest I could plant that would hide this?
Well, if it's only small, you could plant some evergreen shrubs, things like Pittosporum tom thumb, which makes a small ball of purple foliage right through the 12 months of the year. And the young growth is a beautiful apple green colour. So that'll form a kind of a small 2-foot high evergreen plant. Again, it'll shade off a low wall. You could use some boxwood to hide it off as well. Maybe some of the smaller shrubs, plants like some of the small hebes. So lots of really good varieties like Rachiensis or Sutherlandii that make small evergreen foliage that'll help to block the wall. If it's higher than that, you could consider some small climbing plants. So Ivy Gold Child is a really nice variety. It will grow on the wall itself and follow the shape of the wall, and you keep it trimmed to that, and that retains its lovely variegated foliage 12 months of the year. So Ivy Gold Child, I have it grown on a wall at home, on the gable wall, and it gives great colour 12 months of the year. So maybe some small shrubs to block it off if it's quite a low wall, or indeed some of the ivy, the evergreen small-leaved ivy plants will cover it as well.
Okay, so Katrina says that she has a lot of white flies around at the moment. Do you have any tips with the best way to deal with them?
Hi Katrina. Well, look, there's a lot of aphids around at the moment, a lot of green fly, white fly, black fly. So pests are certainly breeding at the moment and spreading to many plants. So plants like lupins and roses have got green fly this year, and even lots of young growth on trees and shrubs are infestated with white fly and green fly. You can use something, if it's any edible plants that you want to protect, use something safe like the bug clear for fruit and vegetables. So that can be applied onto the foliage of the plants. It'll control white fly, green fly, black fly, caterpillars, but you can actually eat your produce the following day. If it's mainly trees and shrubs and hardier plants, you can use something like the PY spray, which again is a broad spectrum insecticide that will control lots of whitefly, greenfly, caterpillars, and use it on a regular basis. Every 2 weeks will help to control them. But now is the time to help to prevent, because it's only going to get worse if you don't treat them. So the PY spray for ornamental plants, and then if it's edible plants that you want to protect, use the bug clear specifically for fruit and vegetables, and you get both of those in your local garden centre.
Okay, so Rosie says, how do I get rid of snails out of my garden? They're eating all my new plants. I don't want to use products that will harm other animals or birds.
Okay. Well, a very good question, and very timely as well, because with the little bit of rain we had this week, you're seeing lots of slugs and snails coming out. They're nocturnal, of course. They feed at night time, so we don't see them during the day, and they reappear once the cool of the evening comes in after about 7 or 8 o'clock, and particularly damaging on young plants. So the best thing to use is an organic treatment, and I use some of the organic slug pellets, like Erasa is a very good one. It's a blue pellet, looks like a traditional slug pellet, but it's actually organic. It's made up of natural iron and potassium, and that combination controls slugs and snails in your garden. Perfectly safe for children, perfectly safe for pets and birds. They're not affected if they consume the little pellets. So look for that. It's one called Erasa. It's very simple to use. You shake it around the base of the plants, little and often, and preferably put it on in the evening time, because the slugs and snails come out at night time.
Okay, so a caller wants to know, what plants can I plant now to give me some cut flowers this summer?
Okay. Well, there's quite a lot you can plant at this time of year. Think about some plants that are going to come back for many years. So I would plant things like alstroemerias. There's a lovely variety called Indian Summer. It's a really nice plant, alstroemeria. Again, beautiful copper foliage, bright orange flowers right through the summer. You continually pick it. The more you pick the flowers, actually, the more it produces. So that's alstroemeria Indian Summer, really nice. Lupins are great at the moment. They're going to flower for the next month and give great colour. Lovely long stems, so they're perfect for cutting. You can use delphiniums, which again give great cut flowers. Roses, of course, I mentioned roses at the start of the programme. They're fantastic for summer colour. Dahlias, the long-stemmed dahlias, the tall dahlias are perfect as well. Big heads of flower, similar to this dwarf dahlia, but just get the taller varieties, and they make fantastic cut flowers, and again will flower through till October. Chrysanthemums would work really well. So there's a wide range of plants that you can plant at this time of year that will come back year after year and give you great cutting.
Someone else wants to know, is it too late to do some pruning? My roses are looking a bit wild.
Well, normally the pruning of roses is done around February, March, April sort of period. Having said that, if you haven't pruned your roses, my advice is to prune them back. So shorten them back by roughly half, give them a good pruning back, give them a good feed as well. So put on a granulated rose fertiliser, something like Top Rose, around the base of the rose. Within 3 or 4 weeks, they'll kick back into growth and they'll come into flower probably the middle of July. If you prune them now. So pruning rejuvenates the rose. It encourages lots of new growth. It gets rid of the old stems and a lot of pest and disease problems as well. So if you haven't pruned your roses, my advice is to prune them today or tomorrow. Give them a good feed. Repeat the feed in about a month's time. And when the new growth appears in 2 to 3 weeks' time, give it a spray of the Rose Rescue just to keep any bugs off the roses. And they will come into flower in July and they'll flower right through till Christmas.
Okay, so the last question is, could Paraic recommend a white or cream shrub rose that is very fragrant to put beside a front door?
Okay. So there's a lovely variety called White Gold. It's a Harkness rose bred by that great breeder, the Harkness family. So White Gold is an ivory white rose. It's got little green specks on the petals as well. Beautiful scent from it, and it'd be ideal grown against a little doorway or an open area. So look for that one. It's one called White Gold. It's scented. It doesn't grow too tall. It's got the beautiful ivory white flowers with a little speck of green on the petals as well. Quite an unusual variety. So that's it from me. I'm back. I'm actually in Bloom next week. If people are around from Thursday right through to Monday, I'm on the expert stage giving talks about adding colour to your garden. And I'm in Mallow this weekend at the Mallow Garden Festival, so you can join me there as well. And of course, I'm back here on News Talk in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.